named Polvado. I am the chairwoman of the U.S. PropTech Council, and I have a fabulous panel. We're going to talk construction. I'm so excited. Thank you to David for having me come. I'll let my panelists introduce themselves, and then we'll kind of get into it, and we'll keep it lively. That's the whole goal of this panel, is keep it lively. I know all the food's settling in, and all getting tired. We're ready to go. All right, so Josh, you can introduce yourself first, sir.
My name is Joshua Bibb, Senior Manager of Cumulus Digital Systems. I have about 20 years of construction experience, building everything from some of your most complex energy, oil and gas, maritime assets to managing over about $6 billion total design build projects around the world. Now I work on the tech side, helping to bring advanced technology to the construction industry. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. My name is Jayson Reese with Volstrukt. We are a company that designs, produces, and machine manufactures steel frame kit homes. My personal background, I started in the mixed use and commercial space over in Dubai, which is where we came across the framing technology, and now we're targeting attainable housing, so primarily houses between 200 and 2,000 square feet.
There we go. Okay. Hi everyone. So my name is Rami Ayasso. I'm actually based in Austin. I founded Method and Build, which is a go-to-market operations for early stage building product manufacturers. So I come more from a tech background, but I spent the last 6 years, more than 5 years really, in pre-construction, as more decision making was my concern sort of in terms of how projects evolve. So I bring a lot of expertise from that area as I shift into the building product world, and really there's a lot of innovation and there's a lot of work in implementation, so that's what excites me a lot.
Awesome. All right, you two share a mic and Josh and I share a mic. All right, awesome. We're gonna get started. So changing in the construction world, just like in the real estate world, we're going through a major shift, obviously prior to AI, but now AI is kind of stuck on the scene and changed the whole landscape, as you would say, in real estate and construction. So this one's for Jayson first. So we're going to talk through so Volstrukt is really changing the way, I guess, homes are built, right? And so for you, what are your biggest opportunities and what are the obstacles you're facing as you kind of look at a project or any project?
The biggest opportunities have been bringing predictability and precision into what has traditionally been a more on-site build process. So it's turning on-site construction into manufacturing. When you are starting with a product that is machine manufactured, it gives exponentially more predictability throughout the back end, and it slows down turnaround times and in turn brings down costs. We've been building the same way since the invention of the battery power tools, and construction is one of the least digital industries that is still around, and so our biggest opportunity has been speeding up construction turnaround times and lowering costs. The challenge has primarily been with the culture. It's really hard to get people to change and to identify change, so I'd say that when you're looking into something in the residential construction field in particular, having people change their ideology and the way they think about construction is going to be the biggest opportunity to change the way homes are built.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Josh, this is for you. So how is Cumulus approaching, how connected tools and everything on the site, and how are projects basically, how are you approaching changing the way the projects are managed and how quality is kind of controlled?
So with Cumulus, what we've done is we basically automated workflows that typically are very paper intensive on job sites, something that has historically been very hard to get away from. When you have a changeover or a handover at the end of the project, it's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pieces of paper. And when you bring in tools, especially IoT devices, and this data into the construction world, what that does is it minimizes the paper, maximizes that turnover process, and helps the overall speed to market of that whole construction aspect of the project. Because a lot of times, going out and executing on a project is one thing in the field, but it's the documentation that actually ends up buried. And so being able to automate that process really helps streamline construction as it is, especially in data centers where speed is the number one most important facet nowadays. It's like, let's just get it built and get to market. So when you're prioritizing anything, it is speed at all costs. That's it.
No, that's awesome. And you build it so damn fast that you forget you need to keep the data along the way, right? Because it becomes crucial, right?
It does, and really what you end up getting is you end up de-siloing the data and making that data that much more actionable. And that really drives the power of the project in and of itself.
All right, so Rami, what you're focused on is early stage building product manufacturing, right? And which is super crucial in construction one of the technologies is innovative materials, right? So how are you, or what does innovation do you mean in this space, and how do you implement that at scale?
Yeah, that's a good question, which I also have come to learn what it might mean over time. Because really it comes down to who you're talking to as well, and what that innovation means. And so the way I look at it, and even why the early stage market, first of all, is what I've seen is, let's say for example, bio-based materials. Like even if you think about the term, you might not really be sure what that actually means, but you might think of something from nature or something that originates from something, I guess, earth raw sources can provide. But what it comes down to then is that it's the manufacturing process. It's like, okay, these are the raw materials to make up this kind of product that has this certain performance criteria. And then that's where things get interesting, because the innovation then can just be, is it how the product is installed and by who? And so then you're talking about labor. And so it could be a simple product, you might look at it like that's not innovative, but it is when you look at the timesheets maybe, or how long it takes to install it, and what pattern or systemized way. So I look at it more from that sense, and I think that's the reality of innovation in the building product world really, is what is the context in which its value is well expressed. And when you start realizing that there are just so many parties you have to attribute to, a successful product is truly amazing then, because it did a lot to achieve and reach that stage.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about technology integration next, because that's one of the largest, probably the largest challenges in any sort of real estate or construction. I'll go to you first, Chuck. So the IoT sensors and the ability for them, they're getting better at what they're doing now. But from an IoT side, how does that data become more and more valuable to you? What are the most exciting examples of like data integration that you're kind of seeing when you're looking at your projects?
Well, the most exciting data integration I'm really seeing is being able to convey the field work to now actionable data for the office personnel, to be able to really visualize and track in real time progress on the job site. And what that enables is that again, speed to market, but what it really does is it minimizes change orders. Hands down, a lot of these projects get hemmed up and get driven by change orders, where the critical path is change orders. And so by being able to have kind of that real-time or near real-time data from what's actually going on in the field, it allows you to address issues much faster, much quicker, and keep the project on schedule.
Okay, and then we'll go back to Rami. So as design build continues to evolve, how are digital tools kind of challenging or changing the way architects and contractors collaborate as you see new materials?
Yeah, I mean, from a materials standpoint, at that point it becomes a matter of understanding the information and at what time. Like, I'm coming from a pre-construction background, and so any project goes through its phases. And depending on also one thing that obsessed me really is also the contractual environment in which that project is operating is very important, because then you know which parties and which stakeholders are actually involved in a certain decision-making phase of the project. And so that becomes interesting, but when it comes to tools, oftentimes the thing is that a lot of firms are really production engines. Like, they're just like a team of people who maybe use, I don't name any tools right now, but there's some more popular ones that they end up getting licenses renewed every year, right? And so everyone's stuck to these workflows that they're used to. Now with AI, obviously, it's amazing because like even existing tools look like they could be completely new tools once you attach some AI layer on top of it. I'll just highlight that I think the most interesting part, especially with design, when you're talking about architects where maybe feedback loops can be a lot quicker internally, but then with clients, a little bit of a different story. But it's how you share the files and the information. So I think what's exciting now is the ability to stream information and move away from this very file-based kind of workflow, which in some industries maybe that's already a norm, that it's stream-based, but it's good that it's catching up now, getting all the details from your building model and all the categories and components. Think of it in any like master format or classification system, so you can go deep in the weeds and not question it. But I think what's most exciting is the ability to stream information and keep things as real time as possible.
Yeah, that's super cool. And then for you, Jason, so this one's, because you're basically designing and building almost offsite. Like you're designing how you're gonna frame that building before it even gets to the site, making sure it has to be absolutely precise, right? Because you don't want it, like, it's gotta work when you put it together on the site, all that energy and effort, right, to do it offsite. So how's technology enabling that? What kind of systems are you using? Is it digital twins, or what are you doing to kind of simulate the build before you build it? Like the concept?
Yeah, AI and digital twins, when the data is flowing more freely, it reduces the turnaround time at the end of the day, I think. Has anybody in this house built their own, anybody in this room built their own home? A couple of people, okay, 10, 15%. So when you look at that, a lot of construction, as we've seen it, is 1,000 design changes and you build one home. I think what data allows us to do is to design something once and to reproduce it indefinitely. So by combining all of that data integration and free-flowing data that moves quickly, being able to look at certain design modifications and how that ripple affects through the production process, it means you can catch a lot of those change orders earlier on in the process and then speed up that on-site deliverable. Whereas historically, there's a change order or an RFI on site, then you're waiting for a skilled tradesman to make that decision, and that can ripple effect through the rest of the build. So we're big on prioritizing as much data consolidation up front and knowing exactly where our supply chain bottlenecks are, where all of our vendors and suppliers of material are going from, the quality of materials, and trying to speed up that process by planning data integration on the front end.
Yeah.
For quick, swift construction on the back end.
All right, no, we're gonna have to, like, we're gonna leave that. So, but the topics, I'm gonna say, so it's in the same question all three of you. We're talking about the adoption of technology in construction. So this cultural thing that we have to shift. It's the human that's gonna, construction's easy, people are hard. Like, this is the same thing. So each of you think through this one. As you come up against adoption challenges or different ways to doing construction, whether it's early stage materials or changing the way we do framing or how we collect data on the site, what is your biggest challenge to adoption of your technology in the space, right? Or how you doing that's also for you.
Yeah, the biggest challenge that we are facing currently is the speed at which general contractors and developers are moving. They mandate that, again, data centers, it's like, let's get to market as fast as possible. So it's not so much a challenge once we get in, it's a very sticky solution that provides, Cumulus definitely provides a significant value. We're used by most of your large hyperscalers. Right now, several large mechanical and electrical contractors are using us. We've been growing steadily, but the biggest challenge with getting adopted is just finding someone who has the time to listen. It's an educational component. A lot of times they don't even know that this technology exists, and so finding them on a good day where they can dedicate 30 minutes is really it. So and that's, if any of you guys have ever been to a data center job, finding someone that has 30 minutes downtime is pretty non-existent.
I mean, like you said, Amy, it's a big cultural shift, isn't it? The average age of a general contractor in the US is 56 years old right now. There's nobody going back into the trades, and construction has historically been a local habit, not a sustainable, duplicatable process. Every town, every jurisdiction, every state has a different process in which what is required to have things get done, and then every contractor or individual has a different way of interpreting that set of rules and regulations. So I think again, when you integrate AI and data, it can streamline process for a lot of the jurisdictions across the United States and hopefully amplify the quantity of houses that we're building without sacrificing quality.
How are you, so with yours, let me ask you back the question. The permitting processes, are you facing challenges because of how you're doing your builds?
No.
No, okay.
So we don't go past first fix. So we've done a lot of modular projects. We work with a lot of modular builders and prefab builders. We also work with developers that will still follow the traditional site build process. By prefabricating and manufacturing the framing off-site, your sheathing is a CNC product, your windows and doors are a CNC or machine manufactured product. Everything that has gone into construction is now utilizing tech and or AI and data. Why are we starting with a process that requires a human to interpret an architectural set of drawings, pull a dimension on site, and then pull out a saw and deliver that? So I think what we've been seeing is by delivering things and manufacturing things as kits off-site, it allows us to follow the local jurisdiction's process. All of the design reviewers are keeping their jobs at their desk, the inspectors are keeping their job, and then it's appraised the same way, it can be insured the same way, and it looks like a standard house at the end of the day. When you take prefab and modular, that can be benefiting the economy in state, 3 states over.
Yeah.
Right? So after all the disasters that we've been seeing, Idaho is doing a phenomenal job at producing RVs for, all the hurricanes that are swiping the US right now, but that doesn't truly benefit the local economy. But when you take manufacturing off-site and you deliver everything to the local economy, you can still tap into local supply chains and continuing to serve local labor and keep that money within that local economy while still speeding up the process and reducing costs.
Your turn.
Yeah, so the question was about what we're building for our clients, right? And so I'm working with early stage manufacturers. I think the beauty is that I get to work directly with their small nimble teams, and so co-founders are very involved with lots of functions, they wear lots of hats. So when it comes to, and we have to look at it more, bigger picture is, what does it mean for their product to get adopted, let alone what their go-to-market means to earning trust in the market that their product is suitable for whatever their value prop is. And the interesting part here is, go-to-market as we define it now in the building product world is still, to your point, on human, relationship-based. So even right now, for manufacturers that I'm serving, first of all, the product that's being built is currently in beta, private, so there's just nothing public about it. When we look at go-to-market operations, you have to think about your staff. And a good example is look at a large manufacturer today, and just look at who they're hiring. And look at what kind of functions they need in a team, and you then consider go-to-market operations in that sense. Small teams can't afford such large teams, right? So it's not a matter of racing who has a bigger deployment team of sales reps and regional sales managers, right? So it becomes a lot more involved with the project, and I think that's what's interesting. So in my case, the friction is that it's not necessarily that it's a friction, it's about how do they want to shape their team moving forward, because they'll just start getting overwhelmed as they already are. But more often, it's the long cycle of development. They're backed by investors who also offer them introduction. So go-to-market, maybe for an early stage, is a little bit more nuanced, but it becomes more interesting that you then consider, go-to-market as something that's repeatable processes that lead to conversions, and then as we scale product discovery, which is what excites me, honestly, as I pivoted into this, is how do you learn about new products? How do you actually earn the trust that this is beyond the responsibility the manufacturers have in doing their testing, obviously, but the actual discovery piece. And as we get into AI, I think the discovery part is going to get a lot more interesting. and just general, institutional knowledge management environments in the firms. Those are all like works in progress that relate to go-to-market operations for manufacturers, BPMs.
Awesome. Yeah, no, very for sure. Okay, crystal ball time. Everybody pull out your crystal ball. Okay, next 5 years. What do you think is ahead? I think, honestly, we'll have AI designing all of our buildings and robots building them all. I'm just kidding, totally kidding. But what do you all think is gonna happen in the next 5 years? So where do we go from a construction technology or construction industry, and where do you think the biggest innovation occurs? There you go.
The largest innovation, I would say, is going to be driven by AI, and it's going to help when it comes to construction technology, and really, I think, bringing a lot of these technology tools together and creating kind of a unified solution and a singular value add. Not necessarily one do-it-all company, but a way to easily link the technologies that you are using, these tech stacks, and make that data just, again, exponentially more actionable, where it talks to each other, it comes together, and you end up having, being able to see the whole picture a lot clearer, as opposed to still having to go through different Power BI boards or other dashboards that you want us to look at. I think you're going to have unified dashboards that are able to be customized, that are going to really give project managers, project executives, design leaders, that visibility that they need to really make decisions and pivot as needed to keep the project on track.
I agree. I think, I guess we'll go back to the beginning. Over the next 5 years, that's very quick, right? 5 years goes by in a blink of an eye. I don't necessarily see robots taking over, nor seeing robots climbing over houses, but what I do think is the integration of the data to that front-end process, the construction planning, the data collection and distribution process to get those to all of the various trades is going to get sped up. You're going to see fewer and fewer RFIs come through the process and eliminate a lot of the change orders that come up because we are adopting more and more technology through the manufacturing and building process. So I think by streamlining the data from the front end all the way through certificate of occupancy and trading that asset on the back end, selling your house essentially is going to get sped up because all parties involved know exactly what's going on and when it needs to happen.
I would find it very hard to believe that after all these years, the next 5 years are going to take like such a drastic turn that everything looks so different.
It will. It will. Just go with me. Come on. Come with me. It will.
But I think this is also a very interesting inflection point in the industry in general as it relates to talent as well. And like who's coming in with what expertise or how they're bringing in their kind of insights to how they want to work and approach their workflow. So I think that's probably more interesting is that I foresee more experimentation in teams and in teams that maybe allocate more time to refining their workflows. So like experimenting a little bit more is what I foresee. But yeah, it's hard to predict in that sense because it really depends from which lens you're looking that the progress is actually happening. So I think the market does resolve itself when it comes to like the competition of who earns the projects for whatever the clients are asking for. So I always like to look at this as, it's not about how is construction innovating, but it's more, what is the demand from society for what will drive successful projects? And from that standpoint, it's kind of interesting because it's both existing buildings and new construction. And so kind of a paradigm there for what the next 5 years may mean for both assets classes, I guess, in that sense.
Yeah, I think we're really close. I mean, Cumulus is one part of that chain, but I think we're really close from, there's a loss of data that happens in construction. So from design to construction, or even design into pre-construction, we lose a little bit of data. Like when we go build the site, it's not how they designed it, right? Because crap happens in the field, it's never how they designed it. But do we keep track of all that? No, maybe not. Yes, well now, we've got this system, it's helpful. But then even when from construction to operations, there's these opportunities, big gaping holes where we can lose data that is so super valuable that people have to like then spend time learning. So if we can truly do building lifecycle management from the very beginning of design through all the way through operations, I think we're really close there. Like very short order, that's going to happen.
Chiming in on that, technology is not supposed to erase craftsmanship. It's supposed to elevate everybody within their field and bring us all closer together for a more streamlined process. Right? It's really just supposed to make it easier for us, not get rid of every entity or business that was originally there to build construction.
Cute. No, we're gonna lose jobs. No, I'm kidding. There will be jobs at some point, but there'll be new jobs created. So it's very true. Well, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for coming. A big round of applause for everybody here on stage. Just a quick plug, I chair the U.S. PropTech Council, so I would love for y'all to